Hey, welcome back, everyone, for another round of a quick discussion with another North Bay business leader. Today, we've got Madeline Yankee with us here to talk about Woodfield Properties in Sonoma, California. Again, joining me is co-host Dan Anchetta, Synergy One Lending. I'm Darren Blonsky with Sonoma Wealth Advisors. And so without further ado, let's jump in and talk to Madeline and hear your story. So Madeline, if you wouldn't mind just starting off, telling us a little bit about the history of your company and give us kind of the 30-second version of where it started, where you've brought it, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Hi, guys. So we have Woodfield Properties. We're a property management company, and our focus is on vacation rentals here in Sonoma. My parents founded the company almost 40 years ago, and my husband and I took it over about 9 years ago. So that's the quick version of what we do. We're predominantly vacation rentals, but of course we do regular property management as well.
Cool. And so tell me now, I know a little bit about the background. Tell us a little bit about that journey in taking over the business, because that's a more recent endeavor for you, right? So yes. Kind of an interesting transition just happened, and then we get C-19 pounding on the front door.
Terrible timing. We just finalized the purchase of the company early this year, which has been a long time coming. Like I said, we've been running it for about 9 years now, which was a slow transition. It was a very mom and pop kind of shop, really no online presence, no real software to speak of. I mean, they were running on paper, basically the whole office. And when I took over, we've slowly kind of grown the company to, keep up with modern times and start marketing and doing all of those things. So it's been a slow, steady growth of the company. And then we finalized the sale this year in January.
And so you guys specialize in vacation rentals in kind of the Sonoma Valley, right?
Yes. Yeah. We go into Kenwood and Glen Ellen. We dabble a little bit in Napa and out into Santa Rosa, but we're mostly Sonoma focused.
How many properties do you manage, and how do you own the properties, or are you a service to property owners?
I am a service to property owners. So on the vacation rental side, I probably have about 35 homes. And on the management side, I have 45-ish properties, which are sort of, properties with long-term tenants in them. Or I do estate management properties that are unoccupied, people's second homes. And then the main piece of our business, which is, privately owned second homes that are used as vacation rentals. And so we market them and rent them out and manage all the ins and outs of the rentals.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about what business felt like in February and now what business feels like in the vacation rental arena.
Yeah, so we were gearing up for probably our best year yet. A lot of bookings on the horizon for a really good, summer of tourism. And March is when things start to ramp up in the vacation rental world. Like we start to see more bookings, and then April, it really kind of kicks into gear. And all of this stuff started right as we were just about, to hit some of our first, busier weekends of the year, and which knocked us out completely. We had to cancel every single reservation that we have, for March and April. Essentially everybody canceled, and the people who didn't, we ended up having to cancel because we're not allowed to do short-term rentals now. So we went from looking at a really good year to zero revenue. Minus our management piece, but that, like I said, is not the biggest part of what we do. That's actually really a smaller facet of our business. So, which, of course, now I'm sort of shifting my focus into that direction. But yeah, it was a pretty devastating month, to say the least.
Tell us about that shift, that pivot, right? That's what we're hearing a lot about, is pivots and the pivots people are making.
Yeah. Well, so there's a couple of things happening, and it's evolved a little bit since this started for us on the vacation rental side. But for me, I've always kept the management pieces much smaller. We don't have a lot of apartment buildings and kind of that bigger, property management, what you think of when you think of a property management company, the type of units that we would manage. We don't do a ton of that. We do more single family homes, and we have sort of a smaller niche in in the types of homes that we're managing. And so I'm looking to expand that and grow in that department because it's something that's consistent income for us as a company year round versus seasonal. So I'm looking to focus on that and become a little more competitive in that market.
Yeah, what are you doing to address that market? I mean, you have some exposure there, but what proactive steps can you take in this time period to make that work?
Well, we're looking at changing our commission structure a little bit to be more competitive. I've always set myself out of it a little bit, and that was really deliberate. And so now we're looking at restructuring how we make money in the management world to, to generate new business and really kind of focus on that side of what we do.
Nice.
But we've had some developments in the vacation rental world too, because what we're seeing right now is, we had to cancel all of our short-term rentals, but I'm getting a lot of calls from people that are making me really hopeful for the future of Sonoma and all of the businesses around here that rely on tourism. I'm having a lot of calls from people who say, we were planning to go to Europe for the summer and we are most likely not going to be able to do that. So we want to stay closer to home, and they're looking to book a house, for the whole summer in Sonoma so that they can come up here and wine taste and do all the things we do in Sonoma. And so we do have people still making reservations for summer. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to keep them. I really don't know. None of us know what this is going to look like moving forward with the virus and when we're going to be let back out into the world and, doing.
You want to get a haircut again?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to start with that basic stuff, right? I mean, people vacationing and, doing the things that we want to do this summer may not be happening. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I'm feeling really positive, a lot more positive than I was initially, that people are still hopeful and wanting to travel this summer. So, and if that's the case and people from San Francisco and the Bay Area are wanting to come up here and spend some time, they're going to spend money in the local shops and the restaurants and all of those things. And even if that looks like sheltering in place in these vacation homes this summer, and ordering takeout and, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm hopeful. It looks a little bit better than at first glance.
Whose decision is that? Is that a local county decision who opens up? Because you cross counties, because you're in Sonoma and Napa counties. So you have to pay attention to both, or is it the state? Who's making that decision?
Yeah, so I don't do any short-term rentals in Napa. That's a whole different ballgame.
Okay.
But we only do long-term over there. But in Sonoma, we are not allowed, while there's a shelter-in-place order, to do any short-term rentals. That means anything less than 31 days.
Got it.
And that's at the county level.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, what are you doing to make ends meet? I mean, you have some income from the normal regular rental business, right? But you have some employees, you have other things that you're doing, right? So tell us about that pivot and what you're doing to fill that.
So we do have a little bit of income still with the management piece, but you have to take into account also that we get paid on rents, and some people, long-term tenants,
right,
are able to pay their rents right now. So that's affected as well. But we had to cut our staff's hours back to really minimal hours at this point. My husband and I, we're not paying ourselves. Wow. We are tapping into our retirement to survive at the moment. And we have tried to apply for a PPP loan with no luck. But we're still trying to get in on that application process because I think we're a company that qualifies.
Right, and they just approved that new funding amount. So hopefully they'll be loosening up that credit and getting out to people who need it, and and not to large restaurants, publicly traded companies, and getting it to the people who really need it in the streets here. So
exactly.
Yeah, that process is crazy. I've talked to lots of folks, and some people are like, yeah, it was a pretty painless scenario, and other people are like, it's crazy and really difficult to get, and it just depends on the bank that you're working through and how impacted they are and their staffing levels, and it's a lot of variables.
Yeah, so we bank with Wells Fargo, and I've been very disappointed in the experience experience that we've had with them. We have all our business accounts with them. And as you guys might know, to apply for the PPP, basically every bank in the United States told me that to apply, you have to have a small business account with them. And since I had all my accounts with Wells Fargo, that was my one option for applying for this loan. And Wells Fargo, I tried to contact bankers. I tried to contact our local guys. They closed the local branch, and those guys were working, some of them were working part-time in Napa, but I was not able to get through to anybody. I'd spent hours on hold trying to get through to the 800 numbers. When I would finally get a hold of people, they had no idea what was going on. They directed me to the website, which had nowhere to apply. Wow. I actually had people on the phone, and I would say, can you go to the website and tell me exactly what to click, because I cannot find it. And they would sort of fumble through the website and then realize, oh yeah, there is no link to actually click on. And so what apparently happened is they opened up the application process on I believe a Saturday morning, and it was open for a really short window of time because they filled they filled their quota. They maxed out on who they would be able to give loans to within a few hours that first day. And so the second week, and I was on this, like the minute I heard it was going to happen, I was like emailing everybody, like, we got to figure out how to stay alive. I got to keep my girls in my office working, and, when I finally got a hold of somebody the second week, they were apologetic, but basically it had been closed. Then they opened it up a second time. But by then I had found a bank out of Santa Rosa, their Summit State Bank, who was willing to let us get in queue for an application if we were to move our business over. And I moved all of our accounts out of Wells Fargo because I'm not happy with them.
Wow.
So, but then they closed funding again. So now I'm just sitting.
Well, I just saw the headline that looks like the House is about to pass the next round. So
yes, so that's good news, and hopefully now we're lined up to. I did everything I'm supposed to do. I applied, or I filled out all the applications and provided all the information. So hopefully, if this comes out, then this bank is going to help us.
Yeah,
and they've been lovely and accommodating and kind and responsive, and I'm super happy with them, and I'm happy to switch over.
Well, that's great. Yeah. So before I was a mortgage lender, I worked for community banks, and I worked for Bank of Marin before doing this. And I think what you're seeing is just how important community banks are to our local business folks. And hopefully this is a great example. And Darren and I were talking about interviewing some local bankers on this series to get their take on what it's like on the other end to be bombarded with 2,500 applications and still have, I have sympathy and empathy for those people, but it's, we've got to get this done. Right. So right. Stay tuned I think we'll line that one up for next week, and we'll get a local banker on here to chat with, and offline we'll talk about who your relationship person is over at Summit. Maybe we can interview them on this topic. So anyway, So you were talking earlier that you see the kind of the future as being promising, that there's gonna be some new opportunities with, some probably affluent people who were gonna vacation in Europe for the rest of the summer, and maybe they're gonna do that here in Sonoma County, which would be really cool, right?
Yes.
Going forward, what do you see what do you see this doing to our local economy and your business specifically in the long run? Like, imagine a world where there's a vaccine or whatever it is, and this is behind us. Like, what does your business look like post-COVID?
Well, I mean, I don't have any good way to predict that. I hope that the tourism recovers, quickly. I think people like me aren't going to be able to jump back into traveling and having fun as quickly as, the wealthy are going to be able to do it. And I think we're going to see, I definitely am going to have to keep my focus more directed towards the management piece, I think. I'm obviously going to be trying to grow both aspects of my company and I'm also looking into other ways to grow and expand but I don't know. I have no idea what the future is going to look like, but I'm hopeful. And I'm trying to think of ways to brainstorm, to coordinate with other local businesses and all these other people that we work hand in hand with the tourism industry. I want to support them and hope that they keep their doors open too. So I'm just kind of in this, my brain's like in the middle of the night thinking of all these ideas we can do to sort of keep each other afloat right now.
Do you think that a single family residence as a vacation kind of for boarding for someone who's going to go on vacation somewhere is more attractive than a hotel, given all this proximity to other people? I was thinking about, like, if I'm going to go travel somewhere, I'd probably rather stay in a house where it's separated from other folks and I'm not sharing a hallway in a standard kind of hotel setting, right? So does that
Absolutely.
make an opportunity for you guys to find, more market share?
I think so. I hope so. I mean, I know that that's how I would rather travel when we're starting to kind of break back into the world. I mean, I want to be somewhere with, I like that I can tell my guests exactly how we've changed our cleaning procedures to, to protect them. And then anybody who's, really concerned, we clean to a certain standard and then we wait 72 hours before the guest checks in so that nobody enters the property between that time. And so those are all things that add just a little extra assurance to people that they're going to be safe when they're staying there. And it's essentially like staying home, right? You're just doing it somewhere else. And I know for people,
or is that a recent change that you've made to your policy?
so we of course have always cleaned, but the level of disinfecting that we're doing now is totally new. I mean, I'm not normally, we put pillows in the dryer for 30 minutes on hot to kill any germs. Of course, we're washing all the linens and all of those other things, and then we're sanitizing any high touch surfaces on the way out of the house. Like after housekeeping's done, they go back through and they're cleaning with masks and gloves and everything. And then they're going through and they're doing all the handles and fridge handles and light switches and anything that's a high touch area is disinfected one last time on the way out the door. And then that wait period obviously is not something we've always done in the past.
It's really interesting. I'm wondering if there's going to be like legislation passed on standards of these things when we're talking about common areas and gathering and what that's going to look like. And
later. Think about the economic drag of that, right? I mean, I think 72 hours. I mean, I assume you used to turn over a house in a day sometimes, right?
Yep. I had people check out at 10 a.m. and people check in at 2 p.m.
Right? And we like, 2-day block, no one in there. Like, that's impactful, right? That's gonna drag any business.
Well, for right now, it's not a big deal because we can't do any short-term rentals, right? So, and it's not, if somebody was going to come stay for a month, it's not a big deal to check in 2 days later. But once short-term rentals pick up again, we are going to be affected in how much revenue we can generate on a property if we have to have that much time in between.
Right. I was thinking about the impact of maybe if there's legislation for something like that, and then that limits the amount of income that you can generate from a property, which impacts the economic value of that property and what that potentially does to housing prices in markets where there's a concentration of second homes that are being used for this purpose. I think that you have to weigh your options if you're making an investment, and if there's rules like this that prohibit how many nights a week you can rent out a home or the waiting time, that can impact values and economics of an entire ecosystem. That's fascinating. Absolutely. So that one decision can change a ton of stuff in our local market. So
and a lot of these owners it may not be worthwhile if they can't generate enough income on that property.
I mean, I'm thinking about the multiples now. It's going to be multiples out of the properties when you buy them, right? And you're like, I got to turn this house. Or you think about all the Airbnbs in the valley, right? People who would literally just turn over their house for the weekend and go live at their friend's house and rent it out and make a couple $1,000. Like, that's not worth the risk anymore.
Oh, you're out of the game. You're totally out of that game.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious to know what's going to happen. We'll have to definitely check back and see how things kind of wind up going. And really hopeful that PPP deal comes through for you guys so you can take care of your people and keep people working. And I think that's the best thing we can do is support our local businesses. And I know definitely that we'll be passing on your information to folks who come to visit, and hopefully when everything gets cleared, they'll be staying in your places and getting the occupancy up and going out to the wineries and spending money, and going to the restaurants and spending money, and doing all the
All
things
the
that
local shops, yeah, everywhere. We're all interconnected,
it all starts with people having a place to stay, right? We got to
Yep,
have a place to stay.
absolutely.
Well, Madeline, we want to keep it to the 30-minute kind of window here for you. And any parting words of wisdom, thoughts, things you want to share before we call it a day?
I don't know that I have any words of wisdom, but thanks to you guys for your time, and I just hope everybody stays safe, and we'll all weather this storm together.
One way or the other. One way or
Yep.
the other.
Yep.
I think having these types of conversations is really impactful, and just being able to share, like, here's what's going on, and it kind of normalizes things and makes people feel more connected. And it's cool that we're able to do this and jump on this call. So I really appreciate your time, and great spending this time with you. So we'll check back in for sure and get an update from you.
Okay, great. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.